Hi, it's Matt in the kitchen. I'm here with my pressure cooker, and I'm going to make a German stew. Now, this is a quick recipe. Uh, I'm going to start out with some stewing beef, about a pound. I get it from the store, and it's a little bit bigger than I like, so I'm going to trim it down to smaller pieces so they're bite size. So here I am, I'm just chopping it down, larger 1 inch pieces, a little bit too big. Chop them down to half an inch or a little bit less if you're using kids. You want it to be the right size for the people who are going to be eating the meal. Now, during this time, I do have the pressure cooker heat coming up to temperature on the brown setting with a little bit of oil. Now, to keep the beef separate, I dump a little bit of cornstarch on it and I toss it in there. So you can see, just added a little bit of it, and I'm going to mix it around with my hands, make sure it's nice and evenly coated um, to really help it keep from sticking quite as much. It also thickens it up a little bit. You could use flour or something else with you want. I use cornstarch. If you find that it doesn't have enough, go ahead, add a little bit more. Um, I don't find that it affects the flavor that much, but it does help with the stick. And you can see that I've got the extra spoon that I leave in the container. Uh, I just use that so that I don't have to keep reaching in there with new stuff all the time. I just leave it in there. Now, do be careful when you're using it. Push it in. So I'll just finish tossing this up. Let's toss it around a little bit more. And I'll put that off to the side. So now I'm going to mix up my spice mix in this little ramekin. Uh, and into that, I'm going to add my first spice, which is Majoram. So I'm just going to add about 2 teaspoons of this. So I'll just put that in there and then go and get the next spice, which is paprika. So it's actually quite a bit of paprika, about half a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. Um, I find that you can use a lot of paprika without any problem, so feel free to use as much as you want. I'm just using normal paprika here. Final spice I'm using is a little bit of thyme. So I'm only going to add about half a teaspoon of that. I don't want to overdo it with the thyme. You could add a little bit more. I'm not going to. Then a little bit of salt and pepper. So I don't like to overdo the salt. So I'm just going to dump it into my palm, and then I'll know how much salt I'm adding to the recipe. So it's not going to be that much, about a teaspoon or so. Then a little bit of pepper. I do fresh grind it almost all the time. I really prefer it to the packaged pepper, pre-ground black pepper. Love the pink and the green peppercorns, so I use those. Now just checking, making sure the oil is hot. It is hot. So I'll be able to start putting the rest of the stuff in there. Throw the meat in, and then I'm just going to stir it around just to brown it and cook it up a little bit in advance. You can see I'm again using my favorite utensil there, the silicone spatula. It's looking really good. And with a pressure cooker, it's all in one pot. So I don't have a frying pan, another pot, just one pot all together. So that's going to sit for a while. While the beef is cooking, I'm going to go and I'm going to do the rest of the chopping. Onions. I hate chopping onions, so I'm going to just quickly chop these up in fast forward. So you want about a cup and a half or so of onions, and that'll work out quite fine. So I'm just going to chopping them up. I'm going to slice them a little bit on the thinner side with the semicircles there, and then just throw them in and mix them up. While you're doing this chopping, make sure you keep going back to check on the stewing beef. If you don't, it might burn. Although I've had a lot of good luck with this particular pressure cooker and not burning. They're all in there, and you can see it's really starting to come together. So the beef is getting cooked up. I'm frying up the onions, and I'll be able to go on and do the next bit of the recipe. Stir that around. Make sure it's all in there. Now, it says a few cloves of garlic, 2 or 3. I love garlic. I'm just gonna add a whole bunch, probably about 3 or 4 cloves. But and the garlic I'm using again is that pre-chopped garlic because I use it all the time. Saves lots of time. It's really not expensive and it seems to last forever. Just pick that up at Costco. Let's stir this around a little bit more, and you can just smell it. It just smells wonderful. All right, it's coming together. Add the spices in and just sprinkle them around. At the end, I'll be adding the bay leaves. Don't add those at this stage. You'll mix them in. They'll be harder to pull out at the end. So just put them in, mix the spices in, let it heat up, and you can see it's looking so good. Really coming together. Next thing is let's get our potatoes. Okay, now while that's coming together with the spice in there, let's get some potatoes and chop those up. Again, keep them up to be about the same size as the beef. So for the kits I have, I want them smaller. I'm just doing them a little bit less than half an inch, maybe 3/8 or so. Uh, about the size of a finger, nice and small, so it'll fit on their spoon and be bite size. Adults, you can go a little bit larger, but I tend to find the small ones work well. Now, I don't peel my potatoes. I leave the skins on. Everyone in my house is okay with that, and it saves a huge amount of time. So that's all in there, and look at that. Cooking is basically, sorry, the softening of the onions and browning of the beef is done. So now all we have to do is add a few more things. So first thing is tomato paste to give just a little bit of tomato flavor. So I use canned tomato paste. I'm just adding about 3 tablespoons. It's a really easy way to out a lot of tomato with a lot of other water and things. So it'll be in there. Just provide a background tomato. Mix it in really good. You don't want this to clump up. Although it does mix quite well when it's cooking. And then balsamic vinegar. So balsamic vinegar works really good with a beef dish like this. I'm going to be adding 2 tablespoons. I actually measure this. I don't measure a lot of things. I measure the vinegar so I don't have too much in there. You can use other vinegars if you want. I never really use white vinegar when I'm cooking food. Um, Red wine vinegar is just wonderful. I use that quite a bit as well, or apple cider vinegar. But in this recipe, I'm using the balsamic vinegar. So there we go. Now I'm just going to stir it around and get it all together. So make sure it coats everything nice and evenly. And look at that. It's really just starting to look beautiful. It's, the smell, you can smell it quite well. And unfortunately, I had some technical difficulties here. So there are a few steps that are cut out. You do have to add those potatoes, just dump them in the pot, and then add 3 to 5 cups of chicken stock. So this should be enough to bring the level up to the top there. Don't go above the fill line, but you want to get as close as you can. It's really going to be quite good. For cooking, it only takes 8 to 10 minutes. At this one, 8 minutes works for the size of potatoes I have. Um, if you did them a little bit bigger, you might want a little bit longer. They'll come out nice and the right softness for you, so they won't be all crumbly. Now, and then one other thing is once you get it open, hopefully you put the bay leaves right on top so that they're easy to remove. Here we are 8 minutes later. So I've released pressure and there you can see it. Look at that. It smells wonderful. So nice stew. And lots of potatoes, lots of meat, kind of the way I like it. So I'm just going to plate this up. Nice to have another ladle. Let's see. Okay, that out of the way and see how this tastes. You can see the pepper and the spices in there. Quite hot because it's right out of the pressure cooker. Great flavor. I really like it. Potatoes. Whew, hot. Potatoes are good. Nicely cooked. Still quite firm. So, really good to consider that. Really nice stew. Not too long to make. Comes out piping hot. Really good flavor. Might be a little bit different than some of the other stews you've had. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you get a chance to try it, let me know how it turns out for you. Any suggestions or modifications that you think we should make to it, let me know. I'd be glad to hear that. If there's other things you want to see, check out my other videos, see what other things I have on my channel, and of course, feel free to message me. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've got any other questions about pressure cookers, you can check out some of the videos I have with regards to that. So that's all for now. Bye.